Okay, I'm just gonna play some recordings of what our mental health services are like. Let's just see if I get the right thing.
If this is an emergency, please hang up now and dial 111. If you would like to speak to a team member at single point of entry,
So this is ringing the crisis
if you are a current
specialist
client
mental
under
health
the care
services
of
team.
single point of entry.
Hi there, my name's Caitlin and I can give you some identifying information whenever it is that you're ready. I have had contact with, I don't particularly understand the network of sort of mental health and psychiatric systems in the DHB, I'm afraid.
Are you phoning about yourself, Caitlin?
I am, yeah.
All right. Okay. If you'd like to give me your date of birth, I can check our system.
Would it be more helpful if I gave you a hospital number?
All right, that would be great.
It's LEU 8113.
8113.
That's right, and I am following up on some contact that was made, and I'm also, my GP's following up, but obviously, as you know, I mean, you guys are busy enough, but GPs are really crushed into very tiny slots, so she can't do the follow-up that I have more time to do.
So your surname is McDonald?
Correct.
Is that right? Yes, okay. Caitlin, I'm a secretary, but I see today that, have you had contact with Sasha, one of our clinical staff?
With who, sorry?
Her first name is Sasha.
Sasha?
Yes. Have you had a conversation with her today?
No, I haven't.
All right, okay. I'll just pop you on hold for a moment.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just pop you on to Sasha. One moment.
Thank you.
Hello, Sasha speaking.
Hi there. Have I got your name right, Sasha?
Yeah, we got a call from the police today.
Okay, well, never mind about the police.
Yep.
The police are causing me a lot of bother. So what I'm following up on is a conversation that I had with a long-term registered nurse called Paul. And I don't know where in the network of, because I don't know how your system works. I really don't. It would be great to see a map of how it all works, because I know that you have lots of different departments.
Do you know this person's surname?
I wish I did, but I don't. And unfortunately, when people call me, they're not necessarily, they're not necessarily to identify themselves.
When did you talk to him?
So I believe he rang me on Tuesday the 23rd.
Or December? Or January?
January.
Okay.
and that would have been the same day that Gay Munro, who was also a registered nurse, rang through from the crisis team, and he wasn't from the crisis team, Paul wasn't, and she rang through to my medical centre just to advise of to know if my GP Elodie was aware of my suicidality. Now my GP is in fact aware of that, and it's on my disability certificate. So I'm getting very annoyed with police because they have all this information, and all they do, because I have PTSD, all they do is just make it worse. So I'm getting really annoyed with them.
I got the record saying that, yes, Gay Monroe has rung you on that day, but there's no record of Paul. So I assume that if it's going through the GP, then it will be the GP practice, not us.
So I'll just explain again. I'll just explain again just to make sure you understand. So Gay Munro rang my medical centre, and I'm looking at the notes here, but when Gay Munro was ringing my medical centre, and the floor manager left a note for my GP, and that's on my records that I'm looking at right now, on that same day, Paul rang me. Now, Paul, the fact that I don't know what his last name is not something that I'm responsible for, because he didn't tell me, but I do want to follow up on what he was saying, because he did get someone else from crisis resolution to call me to enact the plan that he was setting out for me, but something got lost in translation, and I was offered a suicide risk assessment. Now, a suicide risk assessment is completely redundant because it's on my certificate that I'm suicidal. There needs to be no risk assessment. The risk is there. And the risk is there not because of mental health reasons, but because of intolerable life stressors, including very bad health and a lot of social problems. Now, I have a crisis plan, and that was written because I spent time in Hillmorton Hospital, first under the Mental Health Act, and then when it was discovered by Neil Jameson, who had come back as a locum, but has gone again, he looked, and he immediately saw that I did not have a mental disorder. I had PTSD and autism, and I'm not coping, and a year later I'm much worse. And so I remain suicidal. I've made 5 attempts, and I do intend to make another attempt if my life problems aren't resolved. Now, mental health treatment can't help this because it's stuff like homelessness and bullying and abuse in the community. And all police do is welfare checks. They don't actually do any police work. So what Paul was saying is, he can see my crisis plan, and I have a copy of my crisis plan, and so does my GP. And my GP, Elodie, had tried to enact my crisis plan last year, but Hillmorton had misinformed her that it was no longer active. But Paul, who's been there for yonks in a different department, says it's definitely active, and we want to investigate. I want to look into Te Ao Marama for you. And I said, well, Hillmorton had previously said that wasn't an option, and he said, well, it doesn't need to involve Hillmorton. Now, he's obviously very busy as a very senior nurse, so he got somebody from Crisis Resolution to ring me, and they completely misunderstood the message and offered me a suicide risk assessment, but I really need to follow up on the crisis plan that Paul was setting up. Now, Elodie, my GP, has put a note through to whatever mental health services, because we don't even know where everyone is. But as I said, GPs have 15-minute slots. She cannot keep ringing through, and so that's what I'm trying to do today, is to follow up on her request to see what that plan was and how to get back in touch with it.
Right. So we do not know who that Paul is. I can't talk about that. We don't. We are the only one that mental health service people can go. If necessary, if we assess that's necessary, we can refer people to that TAM, Te Ao Marama, but it's not something that we can, outside of the mental health service, can do. So I don't know who that Paul is.
Okay, you may not know who Paul is, and so I'm ringing so we can find out who it is, because he is there.
Yes, so it's not someone in the mental health service, because it's not about of Paul on that day. So it will be outside, because there's a lot of registered nurses outside of mental health service.
He is in mental health services. He's just not in crisis resolution.
Yeah, so I can't find out, so I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. There's no notes about him on that day.
Yeah, well, that's a failure on the part of mental health services.
Well, you need to, I can't, this, it's a big organisation, I can't find someone just because, just for the first name.
I don't think this is, I think we can be a bit more cooperative with each other. I've given you more information than that. Okay, I've told you Gay Munro. Now, that is a last name and I have a phone number. And so Gay Munro will know who it is, because she rang my GP on the same day that Paul rang me. So I want us to not go, oh, well, I can't instantly figure out who Paul is. Therefore, Caitlin's needs and crisis plan.
I'll email her because she's not working today.
Okay.
Okay? So that's as much as I can do.
Well, I don't think it's as much as you can do. Specialist mental health services is there to help people, not just push them away when they need help. And I've been offered my crisis plan to be opened. Now you'll have a copy of my crisis plan, because Paul had a copy of it. He is in mental health services, but he's not in crisis resolution. And he's a very senior nurse. He's said
obviously he doesn't write the notes then, because there's no notes of that.
Well, that's a shame, but that's not my fault. And I have a crisis plan that is legally obliged to be obeyed, and I've been misinformed that because the doctor who wrote it has left, it no longer counts. But Neil Jameson, before he left, he assured me that it is legally
crisis plan is not legal obligation. It's valid when the person's under care.
No, it is.
You can make your crisis plan with your GP.
No, I have a crisis.
Okay, that's all I can.
No, it's not. You're telling me things that are not true.
Okay. Thank you very much, Caitlin.
Well, you are not doing your job.
Okay, we'll see if this next one I ring back. I think this is it.
Our phones are far too busy. Would you like me to get somebody to phone you?
I realise that you're too busy, but if you are very busy, I think it's worth that you just recognise that I've said that I know you're not the right person to answer my question, but just so I don't go back through to another Sasha who's not going to help me, it would be better if I just let you know what it's about, so it might direct you to the right person.
Okay, if you just tell me briefly, please.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do, and I think we can spare time by just cooperating. Now, I was called... My GP services were called by registered nurse Gay Munro on Tuesday the 23rd, and that was the same day that I was called by registered nurse Paul. Now, Paul did not give me a last name, but he's very senior. He is in specialist mental health services, but he's not in crisis resolution. He was ringing me to get my crisis plan, which is legally binding, no matter what other people tell me, it is legally binding, and to get that enacted and to get a referral to get a placement into Te Ao Marama underway. Now, the fact that I don't have his last name...
Caitlin, I just want to interrupt you, please.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a secretary. This is way out of my scope. And I think, just let me finish, please. I think the fact that you have spoken with Sasha, who's an experienced clinical staff member...
She's experienced in being very rude and uncooperative, and I would like you to put me through to someone who rang me on that day, and you can probably check the phone records and see who that is, because it's someone called Paul.
I've got your number. I'm going to get someone to call you back. I know that Sasha has gone into this with you, Caitlin.
No,
so
you
someone
don't.
else will give you a call back.
You heard what I heard of Sasha, and I recorded Sasha, so put me on to someone better, please.
There is no one available. I can certainly get someone to give you a call back. That's the best I can do.
Well, that's what we agreed, I think.
Pardon?
That's what we agreed, I think, isn't it? I don't think this needs to be adversarial. I think we can just cooperate together. I think being...
All right. I'm going to hang up now. I've got your number. I'll get someone to give you a call back.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure. I'll just have to check if this one, which one, if it's the 16-minute or the 4-minute. I'm not quite sure. I have a feeling...
Hi, Robin.
Pathways.
My name's Caitlin. I'm not quite sure how to start the conversation. God, it's so confusing, and it's confusing because of specialist mental health services, and because I've previously had some support from Pathways, and I believe that Pathways might have a little bit of insight into how inaccessible the services are for people trying to get help. Now, I'm not coming at this fresh. I have actually spent time in Hillmorton Hospital under the Mental Health Act, but I was released because I am still moderate to high suicide risk, and it's quite high at the moment. And on the 23rd, and it's not a mental health disorder, so I was discharged by a senior psychiatrist. So I should not say discharged. I was released from the Mental Health Act, but retained for a little while on a voluntary basis to try and get me some social supports. And in my crisis plan, so there's the senior psychiatrist who was Neil Jameson, and his name may be well known. A lot of people seem to know who he is, but he went back. He was acting as a locum, and he went back into retirement, but he wrote me a crisis plan, and he said, this plan, he says, don't pay attention to what anyone tells you. This crisis plan is legally binding. And it involved, if things got really bad, to move into, to get action to start looking into Te Ao Marama, which I realise is a very sought after, long waiting listed residence, but nonetheless you don't get anywhere without starting the process. And my GP tried to enact that last year in Hillmorton, because you get told all kinds of different things, and it's very hard to tell what is true. But a lot of the staff there are very rude and not caring and not in line at all with people who are mentally distressed.
At Te Ao Marama?
No, at Specialist Mental Health Services at DHB, whereas Te Ao Marama is perfect. And I was in respite at Pathways because it was all they could do, and I had a home-based respite worker for a little while. And it was sort of agreed all round with my GP that Te Ao Marama was exactly the kind of place that I needed, because I don't have a mental disorder that can qualify me for the Mental Health Act, but I desperately need exactly that support. Now, I was told, even though Neil Jameson told me, don't let anyone tell you that it's not active because I've gone, because it is a legally binding document. But that's exactly what I've been told. And unfortunately, when people don't want to help you and they're the gateway to the help, you can't do anything. And I've had a couple of really unpleasant phone calls today, so I thought I'd ring you directly. Now, just so I've got that out of the way, I have become suicidal again lately, and it's nothing to do with mental health. Again, it is because of persecution in the community and looming homelessness and very poor health, including very, very bad stress and fatigue that results in stress and trauma.
Okay.
Yeah, and so my GP, I was sorry, I will get to the point, I promise. So on the 23rd, a registered nurse with a name and phone number rang my mental health, my medical centre, so my GP was alerted. And then on the same day, another registered nurse who's very experienced rang me, but I don't have his last name, and Specialist Mental Health Services are just playing this silly game where if I don't have a last name, it's not their problem. And I just think there could be a bit more cooperation involved. Now, Paul very much understood that my crisis plan was in place for these matters, and he was talking about getting it in motion. I don't need an assessment. I've already been assessed, and that's what the crisis plan is for, because my GP has been charged with unsealing it, basically, for when things get really bad, which they are. Now, she's tried to get through to mental health services, but she doesn't have the time, so I'm trying to do the ringing around. And I'm wondering if you might have any awareness of who this Paul is and if he had made any contact with you. He said I didn't have to go through Hillmorton. Okay, this is really...
So are you wanting to have stay at Te Amarama?
Well, the thing is that that's in my crisis plan, and I agree with the crisis plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're trying to find a psychiatrist by the name of Paul, is it?
No, he's a registered nurse, but he's very senior, and he's somewhere in the network of the CDHB, Specialist Mental Health Services. But he was great, and he was talking to me exactly about how, getting it. And I don't need an assessment, you see, because I've already been pre-assessed, and that's what the crisis plan is for. And the trouble is that Specialist Mental Health Services, they're honestly, if you get a nice person, you're really lucky. Their manner is, people ring you, and you ring them, and they go, I'm just the secretary. And it's like, well, do you know what? I've done similar roles and jobs, and I know something about the work done in the place that I'm working, because that's part of my job. Because that's like they don't know anything. And I'm in crisis. I really, really am.
Okay. So are you wanting some time at Te Amarama?
Well, yes. What I want is my crisis plan enacted as Paul, the registered nurse, said, and that crisis plan, which I can send you, includes the first port of call. It was Te Amarama.
Yeah. So you would need to speak to someone from Te Amarama then. I know to qualify to get in there, it has to be a hospital referral. But as you say, you've got this crisis plan.
That was from a psychiatrist. And so I've already been pre-assessed, and so the crisis plan is just there to be activated. It doesn't involve a reassessment at all.
Okay, so I can pop you through to Te Amarama, and you can have it, just sort of go through that you have got this crisis plan.
Okay.
And hopefully, I don't know who the Paul person would be though, sorry.
No, you wouldn't probably know, but I was I was just checking to make sure if he had made touch on my behalf.
I'll just pop you through to them, and you can sort of discuss this crisis plan.
Thank you.
Okay,
thanks
just a moment. No problem.
Margaret speaking. How can I help?
Hi, Margaret. My name is Caitlin. I've just been put through to you by, I'm guessing your reception person.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last bit, Caitlin.
Sorry. I've moved away from a wall. It might be a concrete wall. I'm in MSD emergency housing at the moment. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, that's great. Look, I struggle to tell this story because it's a little bit complex, but to cut to the chase, I have a crisis plan that was written by a senior psychiatrist at Hillmorton Hospital, and he did leave. He was brought back as a locum for a while, and then went back into retirement, but he had previously had a career at Hillmorton Hospital. and I was in under the Mental Health Act until he realised that I didn't have it. He saw straight through what the others were thinking was a mood disorder, and he saw that I'm traumatised and that I have autism spectrum disorder. And both of those things make me quite difficult for a more inexperienced clinician to sort of pick up on, especially because I don't emote a lot in an assessment. But he wrote a crisis plan, and I can share that crisis plan, and my GP has that crisis plan. She tried to unseal it last year, but Hal Norton told her incorrectly that it was no longer valid because the doctor had left. Now, I understand. I'm looking to enact my crisis plan, and the first thing there were several recommendations made in it, but the first port of call was to go to Te Amarama. Now, I do understand Te Amarama is not just, you can't just, waltz in, but getting the process started certainly is better than not getting the process started. And the thing is that I am in crisis. My GP has tried to make contact with the registered nurse who rang me, but Specialist Mental Health Services is not forthcoming or willing to really work to find out who that was, but he was saying yes, it is active and we're working on getting you into Te Amarama. But nobody seems to have any notes from him, and I'm really distressed because this is exactly what I need. I'm in crisis now, and it's serious.
So then I would suggest the crisis team would be the first point of contact.
Oh no, they are. Can I please interrupt you? Crisis resolution are the problem. So they are the problem. They are so horrible to deal with. So they are the people I've been talking to today. They are absolutely horrible to deal with, and it's not an emergency.
And we don't take referrals from GPs.
It's not a GP. Excuse me, can I just please explain? It's not a referral from a GP. It is a crisis plan written by a psychiatrist. So I've been pre-assessed, and then the crisis plan was sealed and given to my GP, and my GP was authorised to activate it. So she's not referring, she's activating a crisis plan.
The only people we take referrals from is the crisis team at Ilmorton. Sorry, Caitlin, they're the only people we take referrals from.
Okay, so it's not a referral, it's a crisis plan by a psychiatrist.
Look after crisis plans, sorry, Caitlin.
Okay, so the awful thing is that...
Who gave you this number? Was it crisis team today?
God, no, they're absolutely horrible, abusive people. As I said at the beginning of the phone call, I was put through by your reception person.
Mm-hmm. So you've got a crisis plan that was done by a senior psychiatrist, but he's retired now, and you want that crisis plan to be used to activate a referral. Is that how I'm understanding you, Caitlin?
That is part of it, yes, but the other part of it is that I was rung by Specialist Mental Health Services, a senior registered nurse there called Paul, whose last name I don't have, and although crisis resolution want to treat that as my fault and not my problem, I know that they will have a record of Paul ringing me because it was the same day that another registered nurse there rang my GP. And so I know that they can find out who called me, but they just don't care. They really, really don't. And what's happening is if we rely on people who really don't care about people to refer people to crisis support,
can you go to the emergency department and make your way through that way?
I've been that way many times, but it's not a mental health crisis. It's complicated, but it's not, honestly, for a person with trauma and PTSD, getting assessed at ED is a really, really abusive process, really abusive, because trauma is a very specialised area of psychiatric and mental health medicine, and Hamilton does not do it, and specialist mental health crisis doesn't do it, and crisis resolution doesn't do it. So it's very abusive, and they treat you like you're being uncooperative, whereas Te Ao Marama, which is trauma-based, understands traumatised people and how we can't just perform on demand. So I'm not going to places that have abused me in the past. The reason for the crisis plan is because Te Ao Marama is the place where it understands people like me. But if it's just going to be this dangling carrot in front of my nose, I mean, I'm likely to kill myself, and it's not a mental health problem.
Sorry, Caitlin, for interrupting. I just wanted to say, I'm very aware of what you're telling me, but I don't think I will be able to help you this afternoon. And I think we've all had different experiences of the services, and that's how your experience has been.
Yes, it is very much by my experience. And do you know why it's my experience? Because I have autism and I have trauma. And so my experience is of a person who is going to a service that doesn't understand my conditions, whereas Te Ao Marama does.
We try to do our best, but I hope the other services are. But I have to stay firm to say that we can
that's
only
fine. But
take
you can hope to the cows come home, but they're not. I recorded the conversations, and they are really psychological abusive. I would just like a bit of assistance, because I'm absolutely desperate, and I'm likely to kill myself in the next week.
I hung up. So, yeah, I'm really looking down the barrel of death. And I've said this many times, and I've tried to kill myself many times, and I don't. After this morning's police welfare check, which was explicitly against my wishes as expressed to mental health clusterfuck and to police and MSD, and I said why, because it actually makes it much worse, it puts my health in danger. So these guys are more or less, they're doing the servant role, which is a manipulation tactic I've talked about before, where they ignore the reality of the situation and just do things that an ordinary person, if they didn't scratch the surface, would think that was caring. And yeah, I've written in an email to police, including Victoria Hicks, the prosecutor in PPS, because I rang 10-5 to get the number, the badge numbers and stuff, and reference numbers. Anyway, one of them's Mackley, who was one of the cops who, he played a secondary role in assaulting me in the a false arrest on the 4th. So, I kind of, and police information is balking and stuff, and I kind of, I got my fucking dander up, and I got a lot of bravado up, and because my central nervous system was really sparked by the PTSD trigger, because that is a PTSD trigger, is police know. I've told them again and again and again. I've been assured by 2 different people from police, one from 111 and one I think from 10-5, that it's on my record that I don't want any more welfare checks. So it's criminal harassment. It's exactly criminal harassment. That's exactly what it is. So civil harassment is when you're paying someone unwanted attention, but there's no evidence that you're aware of any negative impact or any intent to cause negative impact, but nonetheless someone can still get a restraining order against you, which is in the civil court, and you can of course plead your case, and not all restraining orders applied for are given, because consideration is given to the party who is accused of harassing, because they can be doing it completely innocently and don't need like there are other measures that can be taken rather than ruin their harassment. I can what I'm talking about. It's on your record. It's not on your criminal record, but it is on your police record. And you've got to be really careful about what you do to people because it's not a crime. So ignorance of the law is a little bit of a defence there, especially when you've got no bloody fucking idea that the other person is affected by it, and it could just be communicated with. But it turns into exactly the same actions turn into criminal harassment when the knowledge is there or the intent is there. And I believe intent is there, but I'm not a mind reader. But the knowledge is there, and I think there's a lot of evidence that the intent is there. To send Mackley to do a welfare check on me when this is just pure police intimidation, and it's just so wrong. Anyway, so it really did spark me up in my central nervous system and make me just go, fucking come at me, bro. Like, I'm not going to apply I'm not going to bother applying, court. Like, the civil service is made out of a lot of sulky narcissists, and they don't like being corrected. And so even people at court, like, when they're corrected, they just don't do their job. Like, they just get in snits. And that happens in the private sector as well, but you can take your business elsewhere, and it happens to a lesser extent because they're actually motivated to keep the customer happy and to give the customer what you agree to, whereas you've got no other options. There's no, as I've said before, there's no other there's not another police force to go to. I can't shop around for a different district court or anything, and you just have these horrible gatekeepers to what should not be gatekeepers for safe harbours in the storm. And I just feel really tired, and I think I'll just do what I want. I think I'll just do what I want to do. If I go to court, I go to court. If I don't, I don't. I can kick their asses to fucking Venus, and that's why Victoria Hicks, the police prosecutor, that's why she's ordering this harassment of me, because she's trying to intimidate me down until, because the trial's coming up. It's the 5th and the trial's on the 12th. So she's deploying these crooks to come and harass me under the guise of helping, but it doesn't fool me, but nonetheless I can't stop it happening. And I did learn from neighbours who I found out that recently there have been 2 deaths in police custody, both in Auckland, and they're being investigated. And that's something that has just shown me that's a very real, that's something very real that could happen to me, because I could see it, that they were planning that by taking my medical bracelet away and by doing fake suicide checks when I was literally trying to kill myself, and in the cell, and then by not calling me when it was time for me to have my hearing with the judge. And because I'm openly suicidal, they would just brush it off as it would just be the coroner would find it as a suicide. And I know that cops are not going to leave me alone, and I've got nowhere to live, probably. I don't feel safe or secure here. So I keep changing my mind, but I'm just going to do what I want. And if I do anything, then people won't know until... I'll probably film something. If I do decide to die, I probably will film it, at least part of it, and I'll set it for a late release date. So yeah, it won't be like last time where I mean, I won't be able to. It's gonna have to be a lot more of a rigmarole this time, and I'm not gonna be able to push to upload to YouTube this time. I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and that depends somewhat on what other people decide to do to me. And that means you, MSD. It means you, Cara Walter. It means you, Robin Sedgrove. It means you, Shamila Grant. And it means you, privacy officers, David Morgan and Ross somebody and other. And it definitely involves Info, who has completely ignored my complaint, even though it's Info at MSD is the complaints channel. I'm so tired.